Hello, today I am going to take you through creating a mermaid tail from scratch. This video will be step by step, so it's not going to be a speed edit. It will be nice and slow so you can follow along. This is just a background that I've created, and I've just cropped out an image from a previous picture to show you what to do. So to start with, we are going to just create a group and get a single layer, and I have just grabbed a round brush just in like a dark green color, round brush, sharp edges or hard edges, and I'm just going to draw underneath myself kind of the shape of a tail if you were sitting down. Make sure that the tail layer is underneath your character, so you're not drawing on top of your character. And I have it underneath this tail layer, underneath me, or I'm putting it under there now, sorry. And then I am going to make sure that the tail is then on top of the chair, so I don't have to worry about cropping that out later. So everything is in the correct order. It doesn't matter what color you draw your tail in with. I will show you why in a little bit, but even just a black is fine. So you're going to go between using your round hard brush and using your eraser, also hard, no soft edges, so we can get a nice sharp drawing of a tail. Just cut off this bit at the bottom. And so we've got the knees, and we'll just shape it in at the back a bit more. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now, don't stress too much about the shape because we can change that another way, and I'll show you how very shortly. This might make it a little bit longer at the end here. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, now that's my chair, let's get rid of that one. Go into, now this is just a Adobe stock. I'm pretty sure it's a free stock just of scales. So if you just find any picture of fish scales, I just like this one because I like the shininess on it. I've used it a couple of times in other images, but it really doesn't matter. Just grab a scale image. Where did my picture go? Sorry, there we go. Okay, so and then you're going to put these scales in your tail group, and you're going to clip it onto the tail that you drew, and we're just going to play around with the shape. So obviously I'm going to want the bigger looking scales at the top and around the bum area, and just fiddle around till the shape looks good. You do not have to use one image for the one tail. I'll probably use 3 or 4 just to get that to look like it is meant to be there. So playing around with this shape. Yeah, I think might make it just a little bit, no, what I'll do is I'll take you to this tool that I use all the time. It's the liquify tool. So I know where I need to stretch it out, so I'm just going to stretch it out, and that gives it that 3D look as well. I find this easier than the puppet tool, than the warp. I don't know, it's just me. Yeah, I reckon that looks better. Okay, I might just go and duplicate that layer. So Command J on your Mac to duplicate, and we're just going to do the same thing again. So you want to follow the size of the scales. So I'm just going to flip that around. Now don't worry about how it's matching up at the moment. We will sort that out later. If I could do it all in one, then I would, but I don't think it's going to let me. That's okay. I'll just have to copy and paste. This is not a picture that I'm doing. This is just an example. I've already used this image before. I just wanted to show everyone how to do a tail. Okay, so this is the knee area. Just going to lift that up again because it was a gap. There we go. That's better. Okay, and then I might get rid of that little bit at the end. Just stretch it out. Go. No, that didn't work. Okay, that's all right. We will just do another layer and put it on the bottom. There we go. Okay, now let's zoom in and you can see where it's joining up. But what we're going to do is we are just going to blend it together. So I'm just going to create masks on all these layers and just using your black shade. We'll use a soft round brush this time so you don't get any sharp edges and it looks blended. And I'm just going to match it up so it looks like all these lines go together. There we go. Do that one. That one. Perfect. I think that looks good. Now I'll do the next one. Add the layer mask using your black brush on the layer mask to get rid of that excess and matching up those lines. Oh, hold on. I've gone too far. That's alright. I'll just go back to my white and patch it back in on the bits that I've taken off too much. There we go. And it's a bit rough, but you get the gist. Okay, let's just go on to the next step. Alright, so this is just a personal preference of what I do. I always make a copy because I want to start, I don't want to shade multiple areas. I just like to just do it all in one. So I'll make a copy of the group and then I will turn that group into a single layer and make it a smart object. The reason that I convert it to a smart object is because when you put filters like your blurs or your liquify on, you can revert back to the original image. If you do it on something that isn't a smart object, you will not be able to go back to that file. Alright, so I'm just going to play around with the shape of it. So this is where I reckon the magic happens. So your drawing doesn't have to be perfect because you can come in here with the liquify tool and play around, round out those edges so it doesn't look like a flat image that you took it from. You especially have to think about where the knees are and the calf also. It's not really a calf, is it? Anyway, you get what I mean. And around the bum area. So this might take some getting used to. Just keep playing. You can always go back to your original shape. Just press cancel and then just start again if you feel like you've messed it up, okay? Just bring that in around the waist there and pull it up a bit more. Okay, I think that's pretty good. There we go. Okay, looks a bit funny at the moment, but we have to do all the magic. So I'm going to put this tail into a group and we're going to start colorizing and shading and making it look more realistic. See, adjustments. Now let's start with shadows. So I do shadows all differently. So sometimes I'll create shadows with the levels, sometimes I'll create shadows with the exposure, sometimes I'll just draw my own shadows in. It just depends what I feel like at the time. Or sometimes I do a combination of all three. So I usually will darken an image and then I will invert the mask and then I will draw back on where I want the shadows to be. Obviously it's going to be underneath her. Now I really focus on coming up under the knees there and around the bum as well, and that gives it that real nice looking shape. And then I might feel like I need some darker shadows. Alright, so let's just create another blank layer. I'm going to go to multiply. I'll put it on anywhere between 15 to 20% and just start drawing in those shadows with a big round brush. And then I'm just going to go a bit sharper around the outside here. There we go. That looks good. Yeah, I think I'll put that layer on to multiply actually, because then I can see those scales underneath a bit more, a bit sharper. I don't want it to look like it's a flat black colour. Go back into adjustments and I think I might change the colour. Just play around with this slider. So if I just play around with the slider, I will get two colours, but I might just, if I put it on the colorize, as you can see, I can get just one flat colour, which I actually like the look of in this image a bit better. Yeah, that's nice. And I might just go back in on the mask with my soft round brush in black and just bring in a tiny bit of that orange colour that was on there before. There we go. Okay. Now it is time to add some highlights. So I'm just going to go with this blue on the wall here. I'll just make it a bit lighter. And using a soft round brush again, I will use linear dodge. And just going to turn the opacity up, but I'm going to turn the flow down to about 30. There we go. I'll just brush on one layer. Turn the flow back down again. So as you go in, you want the highlights to be less. So you want the highlights to be brighter on the edge and fade off into the middle of the image. Now, no, I might just leave it on the normal layer. I like it quite strong like that. Might just turn the opacity down just slightly. There we go. And just go in with a little bit more overlay, soft round brush. Just get another layer. Actually, no, I think that looks okay. Alright, now for the fin, easiest way is to just get a fishtail. I think this one looks good. You can draw bits on, and sometimes I do, I'll feather it out and draw it on, or but I honestly just think just one of these tails looks really nice as well. Oh, what am I doing here? Okay, so I've just got the tail that I like the look of. And here we go. Let's just put this into its own group. Call that the fin. Alright, and just gonna put it into the right position. I like the idea of that fin looking like it's resting on the floor, so I might leave that bit down, and then the other part, when I change the color, I'll keep that side nice and bright. Okay. Again, converting to a smart object, so when I put filters on it, I can go back on the filters. Let's just get rid of all of this extra. Just use a sharp hard round brush to get rid of all of this. Just on my layer mask. There we go, that looks better. Now I'm just going to go back in to liquify, I think, and I will just shape the top of that fin a bit more so it blends in. Oops, I'm on the layer mask. Hold on, let's go back. Make sure you're actually on the layer. Liquify. Okay, let's just thicken up that top bit so it can match with the tail. There we go. I reckon that will fit. Oops. Sorry, I'm doing this with a mouse on the couch. It's not the best place. I keep pressing all the wrong buttons. Okay, so let's move. There we go. That actually fits really well. Oh, I'll just move it just one more time. Beautiful. So I'll tidy that up in a minute. I'm just going to get rid of this top bit so it's not so sharp. So I'm just, on the layer mask, I'm just using a soft round brush and just going to blend this in. That looks a bit better. I might get the eraser tool in a little bit and just take some off down the sides. But let's change the color so it matches. So just going into hue and saturation, just going to bring that saturation down to match everything else in the image. Bring the brightness down too, because it's in a very dark spot. And I don't know if I want it blue or green. I think I'll try just match this one with the tail. Well, that's nice. No, we'll go back to the green. There we go. That's nice. Okay, and then we'll go in. I'll just add some level adjustment and darken that area. Again, this is me just creating a bit of shadows, so I'm just going to invert that layer and with my soft round brush on white, turning the opacity down, I'll just build it up and just paint some shadows. There we go. I can just see a mistake on the tail underneath the bum it dips in. I'm not going to bother fixing that. I just wanted to show you how to make a tail. So I can't unsee it now. It keeps staring at me. Alright, so let's just get rid of this excess on the side. Okay. So normally when I'm doing tails, I would come in around the bottom of the fin and I'd use usually like a hairbrush and mask it out so it looks more feathered. So you can either mask it out with a hairbrush or you can select a colour and kind of feather it out with a hair brush, and gives it a bit more of a blended look. But I'm not going to do that at the moment. Let's just add some highlights on this tail. Do overlay. That looks nice. Now highlights and shadows is a whole nother topic, so I'm not going to go into depth on that at the moment. I just want to show you how I draw mermaid tails. And there you go. Little bit of practice, but you only need 2 stock images. You just need scales and fins from a fish. You can get both of those free on Amazon stock, so you don't need to go be getting anything too crazy. I'm just going to draw in some shadows here because it's annoying, just annoying me. And then you, using your liquify tool after you've drawn a rough shape, you can then fix the shape to how you want it, and then just play around with the colours, play around with the position of how you want the tail. You could even draw the fin, which I've done with one of my most recent mermaid edits, and I actually drew the fins and then I'd used the fish fins from an image just to get the texture, but the shape was mine that I drew. Just bear with me while I just play around. We'll just put these shadows in just a little bit so got a better look. Alright, let me just fast forward. This is going to take too long. Now I'm just going to play around in Camera Raw and put a nice filter on it. If you don't use Camera Raw, then you are missing out. Just go in and play around with all the settings in there, and it just adds a really nice touch to the end of an image. Just gives it that little bit more. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and I'll do more in the future. Give me any requests in the comments below. You can purchase majority of my backgrounds in my Etsy store. Just see the link below. Thanks, bye.